All right, well, hello everyone, and welcome back to our apocalypse game, The Frozen Heights. I am so excited to be back, and I am joined with a few familiar voices and a newcomer. So we are back here with Doom as Dusk, we have Dead as Lark, and we are now joined by Star playing our new gunlugger, Sam Davis. We are really happy to get back. A little bit of time in between our stories, but I think things are going to be really exciting to move forward. So we're going to start off tonight, as I had mentioned previously, kind of going through our hex with each other. A chance to build up maybe some backstory or some things to maybe work towards, depending on how we ask these questions and answer. So for you, Sam, on your character sheet, I don't remember if it's on the first page or the second page. There's a section that's just labeled Hex or HX. It basically just means history. Below that,
it will be on the second page.
Awesome, thank you. So below that, there's a series of questions that you can go around and ask. So we have Doom playing as Dusk. Dusk is a brainer, and then we have Lark playing as as the Hocus of the group. So looking over the questions there, you can pick one in particular, or you can just ask the question out and have them respond if they think they have a good response for you. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started if you have one you'd like to go with.
Alright. There is one in particular that should be asked. Which one of you left me bleeding and then did nothing for me?
Yeah, that sounds like something Lark might do.
I mean, Dusk as well, depending on how she views Sam.
Oh, yeah. So Sam's going to figure out very quick that empathy is not the word of the day.
Trust me, it's not even a word in her dictionary, but as you know, that's a -2 HX for both of you.
All right. So that will go ahead and clear that up real fast. So with HX, a negative is not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that your relationship is a bit on the I may not stand with you, I may stand behind you, and there might be a knife in my hand. A lot of mights going on there. But luckily, depending on what happens between you all, that can go up or down. Again, if there's ever a chance that you save somebody's life and you heal them real fast, chances are you're going to increase your history with them. If you punch them in the face or you shoot them, your history is going to go down. But that's one way that we can level up in the game. If you get up to 4, so a positive of 4 history with someone, you reset. It doesn't mean that your relationship's resetting. It just means it's moved on to another level, and you take an XP. If you drop down to 3, -3, then again it resets to 0. It doesn't mean it's resetting. It means now you are worse than you were before. You're more distant. But again, you also take an XP, so it's a reason to continue doing things with the other characters. So I'm going to go ahead and hop over to Doom. Do you have a question or something you would like to pose towards Sam?
Where do I find the questions again? I'm sorry.
So that would be on page 2. And actually, I guess...
The second page of the brainer sheet.
Correct. And I've
Not
moved...
your personal sheet, but like the sheet for generic brainer.
Yeah. And you know what? Honestly, let's go back here, because I don't know why I'm trying to steamroll through this. Let's figure out the whys. Let's not just put numbers on it. Let's actually attach some information. So at some point, both of you have left Sam bleeding, or I guess do you want to just select one of them, Sam, and have another question you'd like to ask? Or do you feel like throughout your experiences, you would have had a run-in with these two different individuals where something happened?
More likely, knowing Sam, both of those things could have happened at different times.
Mm-hmm.
It could have happened for each person, so I believe that probably fits for both.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything else I need to ask currently.
So I guess what I would ask to them is, okay, Lark, where was it that you left Sam bleeding?
So Lark has traveled quite a bit. His group has gone through quite a few roster changes. So maybe the first time Lark lost his followers, with the exception of Rourke. Uh, Maybe there was like some battle that he just wasn't ready for. There was some rival group that maybe Sam was part of that group. Maybe Sam just got caught in the crossfire. But there was some incidents, and Lark had the opportunity to help the survivors in leave. Maybe he just helped Rourke. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe he took Rourke and left, knowing full well that like Sam was there, wounded and dying, but just didn't care.
Okay. So, Sam,
I doubt Lark would even recognize Sam if.
right. How many times have you gone into a city and there's been some kind of violence, right? That's a pretty common
Right, and this was
occurrence
probably
in
the first
Larks.
one. Like, I imagine this may have been like the first time that happened.
Is this
and it's
where
happened
you
enough.
maybe have found Rourke?
Perhaps.
Was it that long ago that's kind of how you found your right hand man?
Rourke has definitely been with Lark for quite a bit of time. And like I said, he was kind of like the original recruit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, maybe there were a few others with Rourke. Maybe it was initially like a group and Rourke is just the last one left.
Or is it possible that maybe Rourke was in the group with Sam, and maybe there's something there, but you saw something, again, either through the whispers, the visions, whatever you have with the entity, something told you that was someone you needed, and we could figure out all of the who's whys, but maybe the violence that occurred had something to do with that, that there was something you wanted and you had to take it, and violence needed to take place because of it.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those situations where just so many things came to a head. Lark was still relatively new to the will of the entity and not entirely sure what was happening, but he just had this feeling that that individual and no one else was who he had to save.
Right. All right. Does that sound good for you, Sam? At some point you're with a group, some stranger comes into town, violence ensues. Maybe someone someone you might recognize from years ago, named Rourke, kind of an older fellow, not older, but middle-aged fellow now, was taken. There's a lot of maybes there, but anything you wanted to add in to kind of build on that would be fine. But
that's starting to sound like... I don't recall, did Lark ever manage to get what he was going for during that violent breakthrough? Other than, of course, Rourke.
So Lark, in those early days, recruitment would have been something he was doing and probably not doing terribly well. And maybe something happened. Maybe Lark got frustrated. Maybe it wasn't even him directly that initiated the violence. But Rourke was not the primary. Rourke was not the first goal Lark had when he came there. However,
for recruitment. Sorry to cut you off, but if it was for recruitment, then more likely what ended up happening is you probably stepped inside my sister's turf.
Ooh, yeah.
My sister tends to run a pretty good group of gang, and odds are Lark probably tried to recruit some of her members, and she wasn't too kind of it.
So that was a question I actually had. What's your sister's name?
Denise Davis.
And I'm assuming this was down in the flats, kind of out of the mountains. Do you remember the name of the settlement or the name of the gang that she ran?
I don't really remember the settlement. We never really had a name for it. It was just a place that we had kind of scrounged together to make up for our own back when we were living out there. But our gang was, well, it was the Bangs.
Mm,
More specifically, the Chitty Chitty Bang Bangs.
right.
Because anyone who came by was blown full of lead
Mm-hmm.
very quickly. We were very territorial about where we used to set up shop. Very close gang, very knit together. Take a bullet for each other and put a bullet inside each other's head if necessary.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So I think again this was a long time ago, and there obviously some major things have happened for both of you, but there's gonna come a time where you might recognize each other. So yeah, I think I love that kind of building into some other things going on out there. So let's talk a little bit then to Dusk. Where would you have come across either Sam on her own, or maybe again a member of this gang left them bleeding, left alone?
Well, knowing Dusk, she probably used them somehow to her advantage,
Mm,
Oh,
right.
and then just left them for dead.
That
Does
sounds
Sam
just like
have
the
repressed?
time.
Does Sam
Sounds
have
just like the
repressed
time my
memories?
sister made an example of me.
We keep talking at the same
I-
time. Sorry, I was just gonna
Sorry
ask
about
if Sam has repressed memories of jumping off something really high.
No, but she might have gotten thrown off, as she was made an example after a certain stranger walked in and kind of fooled her and the gang themselves, taking a lot of their supplies and all kinds of other such things. At the end of that, Sam got blamed and was made an example of, beaten, battered, bruised, left out into the wastes by her sister. Left for dead.
So Dusk, did you get inside poor Sam's head and force them to leave a door unlocked so you could take all their supplies? Is that what I'm hearing here? Because Sam, just so you know, as a brainer, she has the ability to puppet string someone, meaning she implants commands into their mind, and if they don't do it, their mind basically explodes. So, yeah. Is that kind of what we're talking about here?
Likely, yeah. If Sam was the one guarding the supplies, more than likely.
That she was.
Oh, I'm loving this. Already getting some drama going on in here. So, yeah. All right. So we have the backstory of Sam and the gang, and then kind of the inciting incident of why Sam was no longer in the game, all kind of packaged together with you two. So,
This is gonna be fun.
oh yeah, no, this is gonna be good. So yeah, I think with that then, let's go back then to Dusk. I think you were looking over questions to ask Sam.
Yeah. So let me see. Okay, so have you slept in my presence knowingly or unknowingly? I think that's the question.
Not really. Especially towards a stranger. Sam has always been on edge, especially with how her gang has always operated as very territorial. So she'd probably never sleep within a mile of you if she could avoid it.
Hmm. If she could avoid it.
Just wait till you get a glimpse of Dusk's MO.
So just so you know, Dusk can basically sneak around all over the place. So she doesn't necessarily have to be aware that Dusk is there. Like, I'm sure no one would sleep in Dusk's presence.
On purpose. Maybe Shazah. Shazah would.
Yeah.
That poor child.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if Sam really doesn't think that would be a possibility, you can either ask another question or just go ahead and say as one. You still get a +1 with them. You still have weird insights just because of your incidents with them.
So I write DX, right? No, not Sam. Or does Sam write the?
You would. So you would next to Sam's name, that's where you just put 1 hex for them, 1
Okay.
1 history.
Oh, no, I mean, if I can't see her sleeping, then I'll have to ask another question, or I just
That's
leave
up
it
to
at
you.
0.
So you have the option of either asking another question, or if you don't find any of those there that you find interesting, you can just take the bottom one. For everyone else, just write history +1. You have weird insights on everyone. So it's your choice. If you have another question to ask, you can. If not, just take a +1. And that, again, you just haven't had enough experiences. It was a quick puppet string, get what you want, you were out of there, Didn't mean anything to you, just another mind that you manipulated. But for them, a much bigger deal.
Yeah, so if this didn't take place in the castle, then I guess it was just a quick experience, so no point in asking anything else.
Okay. And again, I have a feeling we're going to be building up history fairly quickly. So let's hop over to Lark. Do you have a question that you would like to ask Sam?
All right. I guess the first one I will ask is, were you one of my followers? Was Sam one of the people that was buying into what Lark was saying?
No. Back then, she would have only been following her sister's orders, meaning she would have had a gun pointed at your head faster than anything else. So no, not even close.
Yep, fair enough. Just a quick rundown of Lark's philosophy, because you probably heard some of what he was spewing. Lark is all about sacrificing your own moral compass for the good of, he says everyone, but he seems to be very keen on pleasing this thing he keeps calling the entity, which probably labeled him as just another kook and target practice for Sam and everyone else at their settlement.
Yeah, morality, there was never anything in that settlement. There was either you have something to give, or your body is fed to whatever is currently out there with us. Maybe even fed to us. Who knows? We might make a nice stew.
All right.
Awesome. Well, there we go. We
So definitely not a follower.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think I'll bother with the "Have I Seen Your Soul" one, because I don't think Lark would have had such an opportunity with a gun between them the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone else, right, HX +1, you are a good and quick judge of others.
Yep. Can get a quick read on them, to kind of understand. So it gives you that advantage a little bit. Like, I might be able to manipulate you to get you to join me.
My hocus senses are tingling, and they're telling me I should be afraid.
Right. Or maybe it's just that the large sack on your back that vaguely resembles a very big gun. So at this point, again, we have a bit of ancient history here that we might tap into at some point, or it might just be swept under a rug. We'll find out. Let's go ahead and highlight some stats. So what we do with this, Sam, I will highlight one stat, and then looking on your other players, whoever has the highest amount of history between the two of them, which, well, it's a tie, you will just pick one and they will highlight another stat. Same thing on theirs. They go through whoever has the highest history on their list will also highlight a stat. The reason it's at the highest history when you have a higher hex than someone else, you can kind of use that as an advantage against them. So this is a chance for them to kind of have an advantage towards you as well. So I will kind of go through the order here. Let's start off with Doom. Doom, I'm going to highlight Dusk's Sharp.
It's already highlighted.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah. I think there's a lot of new people coming to the castle, so you're going to need to probably read some people. Who has the highest hex on yours?
Lark.
All right. I will highlight. Let's see. I think I'll highlight Cool because I think there are going to be situations where there's going to be a lot of pressure on Dusk.
All right.
All right. So Lark, I'm going to highlight your hard because you're venturing into the unknown.
All right. And right now, my highest HX is with Dusk.
All right. I'll highlight your hot because I think you're going to have to do some manipulation.
All right.
Do you
Oh,
use
I think
for
we've
that?
talked. I think we talked about this previously because I have that ability. So it is charismatic. So when I roll to manipulate someone, I roll weird instead of hot.
Oh. Okay, then you're weird.
Right. I think there are other ways to use hot, but the primary one is to seduce or manipulate.
It
so
is, yeah.
it would be just so incredibly rare I even use hot.
Right. And Sam, when we highlight your stats, if you eventually have leveled up to a point where a stat is pretty much useless for you, just let us know. There's no reason to highlight something you're never going to roll. And again, the reason we highlight is every time you roll on that stat, you take an XP. So, yeah, with you, Sam, you know what? You're a gunlugger. Got to highlight that hard. You're coming into a strange place as well, and you are prepped for war. So let's highlight that hard. And then you can make a selection off the other two on who you would like to highlight.
I think I'd rather have Lark give me a highlight this time, since it's a tie.
You're going to be probably rolling a lot of sharp, so I'll highlight that because you're going to have to learn to very quickly assess new people in new situations before you start shooting, preferably. Or not. I mean, it's Apocalypse World. Who cares?
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right.
Perfect. So you should be able to tick the little highlight button next to those. And I don't think it automatically, I wish the character sheet did. I don't think it automatically ticks an XP every time you use that button to roll it. That would be awesome.
It does not, unfortunately.
Yeah. So you'll just have to remember, again, at the end of the session, if we haven't done it, we can easily scroll back up through Roll20 and just make sure we get all the XP that we get. I think the last thing we have to do then is roll some fortunes. Just see how the cult's doing before you head out.
All right. What do I have for my fortunes? I currently have Fortune 1. I think that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Sounds right. So what he's doing, Sam, is he has a specific move to just get an idea of what his cult is up to, if they're happy, if they're upset, anything like that. Which
is great because I'm going to be gone, so I won't have any way to influence what's happening. Yes.
Oh, awesome. There we go. In the future, I don't normally do this kind of on the first game because it's not really fair, but there's also a lifestyle roll that we will go through, which just kind of covers the standard cost of living. So as you have, I think, oddments, worth 2 barter, part of the things you spend that on is just food, a place to sleep, that kind of stuff. So we would go through that normally. But again, we're going to bypass that today. So I think I think we've been successful. I think we got everything we need to here. We got our highlights. did the history thing, and we have our fortune. So on a 10 plus, yeah, it means that your followers have surplus. So with that, let's see. I have to remember what surplus is for your peeps. Let's see.
Surplus was... I have to find all these things again.
Right, yep.
10 plus, your followers have surplus. Their surplus is...
Right, they celebrate by going on violent rampages.
Oh, shit. So maybe a success wasn't the best thing.
I love that. That's all right. Interesting.
Well, at least they're ready for battle.
Plus celebrating.
They're gonna start pit fights with the guards and something's gonna go horribly wrong. Oh my god. Is this gonna be one of those situations where Lark gets back and like the entire castle's on fire? It's like, I was gone for 2 days!
You know. We'll see. I guess it all depends on who is watching over the children while Daddy's away.
I did tell them to behave, but...
You did. You did give them that order.
Oh no.
And you're leaving Rourke behind, so it's fine. You sent Ram off to go fight with the Legion, you know, practice with them. So everything should be fine. All right. Well, let's dive into this world. It's another cold morning, but for those of you inside the castle, it's obviously not that bad. The bonfires are burning, the lanterns are lit. While there is still snow from the recent storms, it's been moved, shoveled, stacked up against the walls. So while inside the castle, it's early. And by early, I mean it's probably close to 9 o'clock, but it's still fairly dark outside. It's just before the sun begins to rise, and there's a pretty hectic commotion going on at the front gate right now. Most people are already kind of stirring, getting out of bed, just seeing what is going on, and ignoring the bitter cold winds that are sweeping in from the large metal gates that have now been opened. A caravan has arrived. In front of it, a large RV that's been pulled by 2 jeeps and a 4-wheeler on its side. The military of 30 ill-disciplined men from Portum has arrived. Many of them are dressed in dyed black, almost looking like mountain ranger gear, armed with makeshift weapons, and a few seem to have firearms. Their leader, the Night Sentinel, stands on top of one of the jeeps wearing a full scavenged suit of armor fashioned to look kind of like a suit of armor, maybe like he's trying to cosplay as something he heard a knight would wear. They've battled deep snow, big wolves, bitter cold, and sickness on their way, and the men are quite restless. Those of you that are there see the Emperor leave from his chambers. He's wrapped up cold. The legate follows him. He goes and he meets with the Night Sentinel. They have a brief discussion, and the two of them begin to make their way towards the keep. The rest of the men begin to move the vehicles inside. The RV, for those of you that had been here before, you would recognize is being manipulated and kind of driven by Opie. It doesn't seem like it's still running, though, and still might need repairs.
Opie's back.
As soon as the RV's pulled inside and moved to a place that it can be worked on, the other vehicles began to be moved to the garage, and most of the men begin to head inside to find a warm place to lay, a warm drink, or maybe some mischief. And while you kind of sort through the different people that are walking in, you notice that there's one in particular that stands out. They are wearing not exactly a suit of armor, but it's definitely battle-worn and a bit frightening. Sam, as you walk through the castle for the first time, your feet are sore you're pretty sure you might have some frostbite in places you never wanted to get frostbite. You've had to fight off things that, while it may not have been more dangerous than what you experienced with your sister, it definitely is just strange being up in the mountains. You're used to being down in Portum, where it's a bit flatter, a bit more warm. But this place is inviting. The walls are 15, 20 feet high, and there's this warmth. You even think you smell maybe bread? There's definitely the smell of bacon or some kind of roasted meat. The people here, oh, they all look lazy, fat, overfed. The guards, they may have called themselves Raider one time, but they're nothing but a bunch of puppies just sucking at the Emperor's teat. So tell us, what do we see as Sam walks in?
Well, as you said, decked out in this really makeshift formal armor, though it looks like scrap metal, it seems to be very well fashioned together scrap metal, forming all kinds of different defensive spikes, little pouches inside of it, and underneath all this red armor and spikes seems to be a thick layer of cloth of some kind, typically seeming to help with both cold, as if to prepare for this climate that she would have to be dealing with, or to have to deal with other things that might get past all the metal on her body. On her face, which is completely covered, is what looks like a gas mask of some kind. One typically used by old riot squads. And finally, a large metal helmet on top of her head, with a little spiked mohawk going across it. And on her back stands an assault rifle. In her hand, a shotgun. And she just looks ready and a bit worn from their journey here. Not quite used to this mountainy terrain. But still looks quite terrifying. Doesn't look like one you want to be fucked with.
One thing to note, it doesn't look... Sam has no appearance of being a woman, correct? It's very...
Correct. It's just... It looks very... what's the word? You can't tell if they're male or female.
Right.
Ambiguous?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, that word.
So, as these individuals from Portum, again, begin to stow their vehicles, a few of them may even know members of the Legion. Or at least they recognize, hey, you're a badass, I'm a badass, let's go have a drink. And while that commotion begins to succeed, people start to get bored. New commotion begins to erupt from the middle of the courtyard near the marketplace as Old Man Peter stands on the back of his wagon, bellowing out to the crowd that one of his mercenaries, someone named Chin, is a fucking asshole and hasn't shown up. And he is now offering 2 barter to anyone that is willing to join him and help protect his caravan as they head out on the early morning. It does seem that a few of the Legion might be interested in possibly taking this offer. Lark, you're possibly nearby. You're obviously prepared on the journey. Abraham's there as well. So you may have seen this commotion. How else are you preparing for this travel through the Northern Gate?
For the most part, Lark is just kind of getting his bag together, making sure he has what little food he's choosing to take with him, making sure he has his knife, Abraham's knife, and his skull. And for the most part, he's not taking too much. They aren't planning on... it's not a terribly long journey they are on, so Lark is pretty much just taking the bare essentials, and as he had discussed previously, he is taking his tent and camping equipment in the event they have to stop or strike out on their own, just in case. And the arrival of the Night Sentinel and the other guards is definitely a little bit concerning for Lark, because his cult is obviously outnumbered by the guards here 4-1 easy, and now he just sees this large group of much scarier looking soldiers arrive, and he's just kind of observing this carefully, taking note of the fact some of them have firearms, which he has not seen in some time, and just kind of watching,
Right.
waiting for old man Peter to make a just select someone. And Lark is definitely looking among the group, thinking that one would be better. No, too big. Too big. They'll slow us down. That one. He has his ideas of who should be selected, but it's not his caravan.
Right. Sam, you overhear this big-bellied old man. He has a thick coat of a bear hanging on his back, and he's standing on top of a fairly large wagon. A pair of oxen are attached to the front. There's maybe 4 other people just kind of standing near the wagon, some of them just tightening up the straps. You can see a few of these, again, these people from the Legion. They may have called themselves raiders. For some reason, they all mark their skin every time one of their brethren die. They cut themselves, so some of them have, X's and crosses and marks and scars on their body. Doesn't make them look cool, though. It's just stupid, But yeah, would that be something that draws your attention, or are you more focused on just finding food, a warm place to sleep, some place to rest, just to unwind from this trip?
Well, that's the thing. She came here looking for a score, and this sounds like a perfect opportunity to start on that path. So she's going to go up and approach and just hear what's going on. Not quite committing just yet, but just to get a feel for what this might entail.
Right. As you begin to walk through, those that are not familiar with who they are, they give you a wide berth. They make sure it may be that they don't want to get poked by one of the spikes, or the way that you're holding that shotgun, it's giving off the right intention to just stay out of my way. But as you get closer to this crowd, maybe 3 or 4 individuals, this individual, Peter, has stepped off of the wagon. He's talking to a smaller group, and he's laying out the plan. They have to take this caravan to someone named Princey. It's going through the northern gate, and Princey has promised that the route is safe. The scout that returned a few days ago did mention that there are a few places to keep in mind. There is some kind of thick ice that they have to cross, and there's 2 specific pinch points that they just said to keep an eye out. It's about a 3-day journey, but it is going through a trail that has not been used in quite a long time. So anyone going must be willing to shovel the path in front of the dachshund, work their ass off. But if they can get them there, they got a free ride home, and they will have 2 barter in their pocket as soon as they get here. It's just a delivery of food, kind of starting the trade between 2 different settlements, the castle, and then again this person named Princey. One of the Legion, this guy named Doghead, he's kind of younger. He's been trying to make a name for himself recently, but the Emperor hasn't paid him any notice. He's just falling into another member of the ranks. He just steps up right away. You know what? I don't care what the work is. I need to get out of this place. I've had enough of the training, and to be honest, I think the Emperor could really use my eyes in there. So yeah, I'm totally okay with it. And Peter kind of looks him over, and he knows him. He's a guard. He has a sword on his side. He might even be able to get access to a few spears, maybe even a bow, something like that. But then something catches his eye. It might be the sight of a torch kind of glistening off of this dyed red person walking through the crowd. And he kind of puts his hand up to Doghead and looks and just points. You. You know how to trudge these mountains, don't you? You're not from here. That's good. That means you're not needed here.
You're talking to me?
I am. Yes. No, you've come. You must be interested. Again, I don't know if you heard. The trip is not that far. It's a few days' journey, and yes, there will be deep snows, and your job would be to shovel and to protect the caravan. But again, a free ride home, the back of the wagon. You won't have to walk the way, and 2 barter if we do return safely. The man over there, Princey, I don't know if they call him mayor or leader or whatever, but again, he has promised us that the pathway will be clear. So I have no doubt. I'm sorry. My name's Peter. I've been working these mountains for quite a long time. You must have been from that group from Portum. Yes, I've been there a few times. Do you still have that tainted brew? Are they still serving that down there?
Yes.
Yes, that was a strong taste. Yes, I do remember that.
Knock you flat on your ass, it will.
It will. It will. I do not recommend taking that with a bit of a side of that, whatever that's smoking. Hashish, I'm not sure. Sends you on trips. Anyways, we're getting off task. We will be leaving soon. This individual, he points over to Doghead, has expressed interest, but you look like you would surely be capable for the task.
Go look over Doghead real quick, slowly. What kind of feeling can I get off him?
Well, this sounds very much like a move that we have in Apocalypse World called Read a Person. When you read a person in a charge interaction, you roll plus sharp. On a 10 plus, you can hold 3. So basically you have 3 opportunities to ask this person questions. They're not necessarily talking to you, they're not answering you verbally, but it's kind of the ideas that you're getting from them, the way they're acting, the way they're talking. And on a 7 to 9, you just hold 1, so you just kind of get 1 question, 1 reading of them. On a miss, well, you ask one anyways, but be prepared for the worst. So yeah, you kind of look over this. Right now, you can see, like, you're a stranger. You've just walked in here. He knows Peter, maybe not on a good relationship, but like, he's from the castle. So if jobs are going to be offered up, they better be offered to the people that live here. We don't want any people, no outsiders taking our jobs, that kind of mindset. Yeah.
Great, so they're Americans.
Yeah, if there was a red hat, he'd be wearing one. So yeah, let's go ahead and roll that sharp and see. And so on your character sheet there. Okay, perfect. So there are a list of 5 different questions that you can ask here. You have, is your character telling the truth? What is your character really feeling? What does your character intend to do? What does your character wish I'd do? And how could I get your character to, then you kind of fill in the blank. What is your inner question? What are you kind of asking yourself about this character?
Does he look experienced enough to handle the outside? Because I know what it is on the outside. I've been there. I've lived that shit, both in a gang and on my own.
So
And it's
just
fucking rough.
common knowledge, you would probably have known, especially with your background. The men that are here, the Legion, they were originally raiders down on the Flatland as well. They were basically recruited by the Emperor, who said, hey, instead of going around hitting settlements, willy-nilly, I know of a castle way up in the mountain. How about we go take the castle and make that place ours and then start making some money? And that's why they're starting to get, a bit fat and lazy. So it's possible you may have known them, may have encountered them, but he would be very much like one of the men you just traveled with, as far as them not having that much experience in the snow, but being experienced as warriors. So yeah, you that's not even going to be your question. I would just say that he would be a decent warrior, but as far as anything beyond that, you might as well just attach a gun to the front of the caravan and have kind of the same thing.
All right.
Yeah, from the list, and I can go through it again.
No, I have it right here in front of me.
Okay.
I went. Good old Lark told me where I could grab that real quick for reference.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, what's he really feeling about this job in particular, and about me?
Okay. So looking over him, you see a bit of he's seeing opportunity. It doesn't seem like he has a lot of chances to make money, and this might be one of those few chances he gets. And yeah, about you, like, he does not want to fuck with you at all. There's definitely a bit of fear going on there, but it's also he doesn't know who you are. You're an outsider. Again, he just has that mindset of, if this money is going to be given to someone, it should be given to someone that's familiar with why the Northern Gate's not being used, or what this trade is, or anything like that. So while he would be extremely angered, there's no way he's going to confront you about it, because you concern him.
Alright, after I finish looking him up and down like that, I'm just gonna turn back to the what's his name, because Sam doesn't know it. She doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Right now that guy is just boss.
Right.
Just go like, I'll take the job.
All right. Very good. I know you just arrived. Sorry, Doghead. Maybe next time. Look, we'll be leaving pretty quick. If you got anything, just toss it on the back there. Any of these. Fauna, he calls over this woman, shaved head. Help this. What's your name?
Sam.
Help Sam here. If they have anything they need to load, get it on there. You can handle a shovel, right?
I've dug many graves in my time. That counts.
Oh, right. You know what? The snow's probably going to be as thick as some of the dirt you've done, so not a problem. That'll be fine. Go ahead and get settled. What do we say? He kind of looks over. Hey, Lark. 20 minutes? It looks like we probably should have some sunlight by then. That work for you?
It sounds good, Peter. That'll be excellent. Abraham and I are already set to go, so simply give the word and we can set out.
All right, well, don't go too far. Just got to wrap some things up. I'm going to go chat with the Emperor real quick, let him know that we're on our way, and then, yeah, we will forge ahead. All right.
Let him know I said hi.
Oh, absolutely. He looks over. There's 3 workers that he has with Fauna. There's this woman. She seems to be kind of the main helper. There's another older man. Seems to be probably about the same age as Peter, but he's wearing some thick leather, covered in furs. He's got a bow strapped kind of around him. On his side, he's got a pretty large bundle of arrows and a couple daggers kind of slid into a leather band across his chest. You may have heard his name is Look, and he's been with Peter for a while. And then the other helper is just this individual named Z, and he's kind of just quiet and doing the job. And then Sam, yeah, you see this individual he references as Lark. You may or may not recognize him, but this could be someone you saw, 10, 15 years ago. It's definitely possible. And with him, there's a kid kind of wearing an orange jumpsuit, seeming to just stand silent next to this Lark individual preparing for it. Again, the wagon itself, it's pretty large. I mean, probably enough to hold 8 people if it wasn't full of whatever they got in those barrels and sacks in the back. And there's a few additional bows, arrows, couple shovels on the side. And if you look closely behind the bench on the front of the wagon, you see what might be a shotgun resting underneath a bit of cloth. The seat's worn down. You can tell Peter's been using this wagon for a long time. And the 2 oxen in the front, they look strong. As all this is happening, Doom, you've heard the commotion. Has it caused you to come out of your hole, or are you up to other things?
I mean, if there's still no light out, she would still probably be about, not for long, but this could still be about. And yeah, she has noticed the newcomers, and some of them remind her of things that she doesn't want to remember. A little.
Mm-hmm. Is that because of experiences you've had at Portum before?
Not Portum per se, but especially the more heavily armored ones with the firearms. She doesn't like them.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, and you're not seeing a lot of necessarily control with them either. Even though, there's one individual that came in looking like a knight in shining armor. Again, someone cosplaying as one, went with the Emperor. The rest of them just kind of split off in their own groups, and you've already started to see tensions. You just have that feeling. There's a lot of hounds within these walls now. But you also see that Lark and the caravan are getting ready to go. You tried yesterday. You tried to get some eyes within the group with Fauna. Fortunately, just gave her a pretty nasty headache. Nothing there. There does appear to be a newcomer in the process of just preparing, maybe putting any bags she has on the back, or maybe strapping one of her weapons to the side, something like that. But yeah, this spiked warrior covered in red is joining them too. But there's the courtyard. For being so early, it's already starting to bustle. A few of the traders are trying to take advantage of all these new people. They've opened their stalls and shops a bit early. The bakers, they're trying to pump out as much bread as they can. With the recent storms, the amount of things coming in to the castle lately has been pretty slim. There haven't been a lot of traders coming here, a lot of outsiders. So this is the first chance for there just to be new blood, and that's being utilized in a variety of ways. So yeah, that being said, what would we see Dusk up to? Just watching, or do you have a specific person that you're interested in?
Well, I think she'd rather just keep her distance for now, especially if things are getting crowded. So I guess she'll stay and watch a bit, and then head towards her shack.
As you probably noticed when you came out of it, the door of your entrance, a little tower. While yesterday it was just a single row cross made out of like roses and garlic, there are now what appears to be maybe gifts. You look down and there's a wrapped bit of bread. You find there's an old book. The stories of the Winter's Wraith apparently are starting to hit people, and they're maybe trying to appease a spirit. So you might trip over it. It got a bit covered in snow. But yeah, you find a variety of just strange things. Again, books, food, maybe even a necklace or a ring or something like that. Do you ignore it, or?
Well, not the food. She'll probably take a curious look at the baubles, but the food she'll definitely take. The baubles, I mean, yeah, she'll probably take a look at it. So it will probably be noticeable that it was tempered with.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think she takes it with her. It really has no value.
Right. I guess, I mean, is this knowing that you are considered, this not beast, but this spirit, does that make you feel like you're being successful being here? Like, is that a good feeling?
Well,
or...
they're starting to giving her food, so yeah, it's good.
Mm-hmm. And they're really, last night you haven't noticed anyone coming through. Fauna was the last one, and when she kind of ran out screaming, holding her head, there haven't been a lot of people coming to the storage the past 12 hours or so. So it's been kind of quiet. Shazah probably showed up last night, and yeah, he's still acting weird. You might remember the not the most recent last time, but actually it was the last time you found him. He was standing in the corner of your room, just staring at the hallway, or staring at the corner. And when you turn him around, he had those dark black eyes. And before that, you would try to kind of do a brain scan, kind of look into his mind, and may have caused him a bit of damage. But yeah, last night he seemed a bit more quiet, but he gave you your food. He kind of maybe talked about those comic books you had read about the heroes a little bit, but he seemed fine beyond that. You probably have seen some of the Legion acting weird as well. Especially if you're out late last night. You may have even noticed that you saw the Emperor go into the Medicaid's office, and they didn't come out of there until 2 or 3 in the morning. Like, it was dark before they actually came out. And that may have caught you off weird, because normally it's just you out and about at that time of day. But they just walked out. They're talking, kind of preparing to get these guests for today, and just bullshitting back and forth.
Yeah,
But yeah.
It does sound a bit concerning, and she'll probably do something about it, but right now there really isn't much of an opportunity.
Right.
So she's just going to hide it out for now.
Mm-hmm. So after a few moments, Peter returns and kind of goes through the process, checking everything over one last time. Goes over to Fauna and kind of, Lark, you might overhear them, both you and Sam might overhear something about their load being a bit light. And again, did you leave those things for the Wraith? We don't need any curses or bad omens on this trip. They definitely feel like there's a bit of superstition or something going on.
Lark's ears immediately perk up at the mentioning of the Wraith.
Yeah, no, you lean in a bit closer, and Peter's been through these mountains. He's seen some things. He's heard some things. And knowing that one of his crew seems to have been touched and in his mind possibly cursed from it, yeah, they better make sure that the spirits of this place are left here. They don't want anything following them.
So Lark kind of leans in. You had an encounter with the Wraith, you say?
Oh, sorry, Lark. I didn't see you there. No, not I. Fauna here. Yes. She was working to finish the gathering the supplies for the trip from the storage, and she said that her body immediately felt cold, and you had a headache. You almost passed out. Isn't that right? And she kind of looks at. Yes. I was just. We had maybe another 5 or so bags, and the room. The hallway became dark. I felt shivers down my spine. My eyes just filled with immense pain and the worst headache I've ever had.
That sounds very familiar to Lark. um, Lark kind of leans in a bit and puts a hand on Fauna's shoulder. Do not fret. It's certainly not the best experience. Believe me, I know, but the Wraith and I have come to an understanding, and I assure you, with patience and a little prayer, you will be fine.
Kind of looks at you a bit, quirky. Yeah, sure. This guy, he knows he and the Wraith are best friends. I think we have prepared, Lark. Don't worry. I've dealt with these things before. But there are spirits haunting all of these hills, all of these mountains. So,
Trust me, you haven't met one like the Winter's Wraith.
You know what? I think. If that's the case, perhaps we just give them space. We allow the spirits to be appeased by us not being here. I think we have everything prepared to go. I have sent guard ahead to, opening the front gate might take a bit of time, so that gate should be prepared. But if you're all ready, I think...
Yes, absolutely. Abraham and I have been eagerly awaiting our departure.
So he crawls up on top of the wagon. The other guy, look, he goes over, he picks up one of the shovels, and he grabs another one and he hands it over to you. All right, look, I don't know who you are. Just do whatever the old man says, and you'll be fine. He's yeah, I don't have.
As long as he pays, I don't care.
All right, do your job. You'll get paid. Hands you the...
Sam's just gonna take the shovel.
And
Lark definitely takes note of the new person in armor, kind of takes a quick glance, the firearms and everything. Though seeing the large group of men carrying weapons did make him a little bit uncomfortable. Seeing one of them is actually going to be what he believes to be his protector on this journey, he's a little bit more at ease. And Lark kind of looks at this armored individual and just says, "So you are the one Peter hired. You certainly look the part. Well, our safety is in your hands." He does like spreads his arms a little bit, does like a slight, not really bow.
Sam's just gonna kind of just brush him off. Like, just an attachment to the job. That's about all you are to Sam at the moment.
Yeah, and Lark kind of doesn't really flinch at that. It's about what he expected. All these soldier types are the same. And then Lark kind of looks to Abraham and just kind of gives like a reassuring nod, like, "We got this. You're good. You're good. Just do everything I say and everything will be all right." And then he looks back to Peter. "Oh, shall we go then?"
He whips the oxen and they begin to move out. Look, kind of walks in front to make sure everything's clear. Kind of looks for Sam to follow. The Fauna and Z, the other two workers, they just walk beside the caravan. Lark, I think you would have been offered if you wanted to ride on the back. Like, you're the only other person that's allowed to ride on the wagon. So if you wanted, you could probably just hop up there, and then yeah, Abraham would just be walking beside you if you did that.
If no one else is going to occupy the space, Lark will certainly hop up.
Yeah, no, I mean, Peter does not want his load, weighed down more than it already is, but you are the emissary, so no reason to have you worn out on this trip. So as the caravan begins to move its way through the courtyard heading towards the northern gate, a few people kind of stop to watch. The legate and the emperor are both all standing looking down as the gate goes. There's a bit of a nod between Peter and the two of them. As you all get to the front gate, it's been shoved open, and it looks like it probably took about 12 men to open these gates because the amount of snow that had been packed up, it looks like a good 2 feet has just been scraped. Immediately, Sam, you see Look kind of take a deep breath, understanding that, oh shit, this is going to be tough, and just walks out and begins to shovel and throw things to the side. So as you guys are preparing to leave the northern gate, I need you to decide. I need one of you to basically be what you want to call it, the lookout, kind of get an idea of who's going to be the one mostly keeping an eye on things on this trip.
Between the two, I'm going to say my suggestion would be Lark, just because he's not going to be doing much else. He's not doing, and if any, he's not doing very much shoveling, and he's just kind of sitting on the wagon and everything. Whereas I imagine Sam's being trusted to do a good chunk of the shoveling.
Mm-hmm.
Most
Okay.
likely. Just one question: would that be considered going on Overwatch? Just if it was a move?
Not yet. Overwatch.
Looking at...
Yeah, Overwatch would take place if you're in like active combat. So if you're in a scenario where you're already been fighting with someone and you say, okay, I post up, and if anyone moves and blasting their head off, it would be something like that. This is more a custom move. So with Apocalypse World, everything has a specific, role or thing that's applied to it. Sometimes, depending on the situation, if there's no standard move that plays, I will work to create a custom move to kind of add a bit of chance, but also some specific things that can happen. So this is one of those. So for Lark, I'm going to have you roll against Sharp. So the full move, when you exit the northern gates, roll plus Sharp. On a 10 plus, you'll choose 2. On a 7 to 9, you'll choose 1. On a 6, you'll choose 1 anyway and prepare for the worst. The choices are: the cold winds remain behind the peaks, you see what sees you, the pathway home remains clear, and you find a clear path to your destination.
All right. Let's give it that sharp roll.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Very nice. All right. So again,
even with the +0, that had me really nervous.
Yeah. So you have: the cold winds remain behind the peaks, you see what sees you, the pathway home remains clear, or you find a path to your destination.
And on a success, I get how
2.
many?
2 of those.
I'm going to say that... Let's see. I'm definitely going to say that we find a clear path to our destination, because that seems to be... That is our goal on this trip. For the second one... I'm going to be a bit selfish here and say the cold winds stay behind the mountain peaks. Because chances are, if there's something observing us that's potentially dangerous, we have a gun lugger now.
There you go. All right. So, Sam, you dig in and you start to shovel. After maybe 20 yards or so, the snow starts to drop down. It goes from 18 inches to 6 to 4 to 2 pretty quickly. So it really gets to a point where it's not that bad. You're almost able, just with your brute strength, to kind of walk while resting on the shovel and kind of tilting it to the side and just like a plow, just mowing through this thing. There's many times that Look has to stop, catch a breath. Nah, you're good. As you all begin to go, the sun begins to rise a little bit. The light gray, very faint orange coming from it. The temperature begins to rise, the winds begin to settle, and those gray clouds that seem like they've been hanging over for a while begin to push themselves up and over the peaks, and you begin to make your caravan north. After about an hour or so of just this hard labor, you find yourself shoveling over something that's fairly slick. So you stop and you kind of dust away, and you're standing on the edge of what appears to be a river. Peter stops the oxen, kind of looks up. Yes, they had told us about that. I believe if we go a little bit over there, look, and he kind of points a bit closer to the peaks. Should be a clear, sturdy path, and then kind of puts his hand up to look past the little glare of the snow. Yes, I think another few hours we'll be heading between that pass there. That's the first pinch point that they warned us about. Keep an eye out. They had mentioned that after that pass, they came across some of Princey's people. They were riding snowmobiles, but they were quite well hidden, wearing white outfits and the such. I have no reason to doubt them, any cause of concern, but if they do arrive, there's a possibility they may wish to guide us to their camp, which is just fine. But again, I know you there, Sam. You're not familiar with these people. They can be a bit strange. So if you do happen to see anything, allow me to be the one that speaks with them. I think that's all free and clear. Of course, Lark, if you have anything to input, that's completely fine. But until we get there, if you don't mind, just allow me to make sure we get there safely.
This is your caravan.
So you begin to kind of follow this path. After a little while, Dusk, back at the castle, you're kind of sitting there and trying to fall asleep. It's so much noisier than you're used to it. There's so many voices out there. And they're not quiet. They're rowdy. They're loud. They're already drunk. There's probably a few fights. And so we probably see, the standard, like trying to turn around, trying to plug cloth in your ears, just trying to do anything to just fall asleep because the sun's out. But it's pretty tough.
Well, not to mention her experience in the shack the other day.
Right. Yeah.
She's going to try and focus to, like, what she did with Drag, and see through Abraham's eyes.
Had you done puppet strings on Abraham?
I think I did.
I believe she, yeah, after the failed attempt on Fauna.
Do you remember how many you got on him?
I think it was a success.
Okay.
I think.
So, in that case, yeah, we'll say, I think I remember that as well. So you at least have, and I think what you said was something about Abraham being Abraham would be your eyes, but Lark's shield. I think that's what you said. Something like that. So yeah.
I even told Lark about it, I think, at the tower.
Yeah, no, I think I
think you hinted at it, but you weren't like, I have magic brain puppet strings on your follower there.
Oh, but Lark opened his mind and he saw something about sheep, and like the dogs that followed the order to affect the sheep got praised, and the ones that didn't were whipped. And it's where he kind of learned about what, if you do what Dusk says, good. If you don't, bad.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, as you kind of go into your meditative state just to see, I'm gonna have you open your brain to the world's psychic maelstrom. Go ahead and roll
This is
plus
always the
weird
best
for me.
roll.
Oh man, these rolls doing good so far. So yeah, I guess at this point you're just trying to see what's going on. It's very bright. Like it takes you a moment. You feel like you have to squint, even though you're not seeing through your own eyes, just because there's a glare here. It's untouched white snow. You can see these cliffs with a few. Some of them have trees on them. Most of them are just these dark, kind of gray, sharp peaks that just reach up towards the light gray kind of sky. Abraham appears to be walking kind of at the back corner of the wagon. You can see Lark sitting up there, kind of surveying, looking around. You
Probably a big grin on his face.
Right. You can see the workers just keeping an eye on things as well, making sure if if the wagon hits a bump, they're there just to check the wheel, make sure the straps keep tight. Peter has actually taken off his bear hood. He's put on a pretty wide brimmed hat and just kind of sitting there moving along. And then up in front you hear the sound of scraping, and you see snow being tossed to the side. After kind of watching this, there's not a lot of conversations happening. The workers, Fauna and Z, they know their place. They're not here to converse. There might be a conversation between Lark and Abraham, but Abraham's not really speaking up lately. He's kind of been talked down to, so he's kind of just quiet. He just knows he's on this path for a reason. He's not quite sure what the reason is. Did you give him his knife back, Lark?
I am currently holding on to it.
Right.
I told him that I will give it back to him should the need arise, and I'm kind of making it like I'm kind of holding the tree over his head a little bit, trying to show him that there are rewards for doing what I want.
Right.
And penalties for not doing what I want.
So at this moment, is there anything in particular you're looking for, Dusk?
Well, mostly just making sure everything's okay, but if there's anything else I could try, maybe...
Well, as you're kind of sitting there, just surveying the scene, you do hear a pretty solid thunk, and the older individual, it appears he was digging into what he thought was a snow pile, but it seems to be more solid. And he kind of stops, and Sam, look, kind of calls you over. Hey, what? And he points at this fairly large. It's probably sitting about 4 foot up, and it's just pure white that does look like snow. But every time he hits it, you can see it's clearly fur. But it's not moving. It's just laying there in this trail.
Yeah, Lark gets really nervous, and his hand immediately goes into his robes where his knife would be, because he remembers exactly what happened last time he was outside the castle walls.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately upon seeing that, the shovel goes down, the shotgun comes up. Just immediate battle instincts kicking in. What's going on? What's happening?
I don't know. I think this is... It kind of goes and begins to dust off this thing. Holy shit. It's one of the snow bears. This thing's fucking dead, though. Oh, fuck. And he goes and turns and, tries to hold his stomach in. There's something on the front side, kind of back away from the wagon, that he's just uncovered. And even from your perspective, kind of up on it, Lark, the back where the neck should be seems to be sunken in. And it's just this dark, gooey, blackish, dried blood kind of look. It's probably about a hole, maybe the size of a watermelon, that just burrowed into the back of this bear. And Sam, as you get closer, if this bear standing up on all four probably stands about 6 feet tall, standing straight up. I mean, this thing's probably close to 9-10 feet, weighing close to a ton. I mean, it's like a freaking rhino, and it's big and it's white. But yeah, you get close to it, and it's definitely dead. Something killed it.
Can I tell how recently? By
I guess
examining it?
how many experiences has Sam had with things dying in the cold?
Not a whole lot.
I would say you could definitely read the situation. So that's another move if you wanted to. So when you read a charged situation, you roll plus sharp. On a hit, you can ask me questions. Again, 10 plus, you get to ask 3. 7, 9, you get to ask 1. The questions are...
Yeah, they're right here in front of me.
Exactly, yeah. So if you feel that's something you're doing, Lark, you're there as well. I think Peter's kind of stood up, and you can tell he's more worried about finding a way around this thing because he doesn't think it's going to be possible to move it. So he's kind of looking around. But yeah, Lark, you're there as well. And I would say, Dusk, you too. Through Abraham's eye, you're kind of seeing... He's not approaching this big white thing, but you probably hear the conversation that Look and Sam are having about this bear.
Yeah, I like to read the sitch.
Okay. Absolutely. Go ahead and roll plus sharp for me. Okay. So yeah, what question would you like to ask?
So, out of these questions...
And if it's sometimes with these, the perfect question doesn't quite fit in. So if you have an idea of the kind of information you're trying to get, I can try to work through the questions and be like, all right, this kind of fits. Because I know they don't always work for every situation.
I'm kind of wanting to know what may have made that hole.
Right.
Like, what I should be on the lookout for, I guess, of what might have been able to do this to that bear.
Right.
Because it doesn't really matter why it did it. It matters how it did it more often, because that might be the thing that saves our lives. Not why, how.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty easy. You kind of approach, and how tall is Sam?
She's about 5'9".
Okay. So you have to you might even have to step up on one of its paws. It's kind of laid out just to get up, and you look down into this hole in its neck. Down there, probably about 6 inches deep, there are these wiggling, squirming, bluish maggots just feasting away on the bear.
What? Fuck. Well, that's interesting. And,
seeing Sam kind of get up to Lark's like, what is it?
Wish I knew. Looks like maggots of some sort have already started to settle in. But
Maggots? Lark starts talking, and then his mind goes back to what he saw on the Emperor's dining room table.
Yeah,
blue,
no,
to be specific.
The fur, the slab of meat and the maggots, it's all coming back like, yeah. One and the same.
Lark, his face kind of contorts through a series of emotions because he doesn't know how he feels about this. Because it is horrifying. This might have something to do with the person he's going to meet, which is scary. But Lark kind of gets down off the wagon and slowly approaches this bear. He pulls out the knife from his robe, he goes over to the paws. Lark wants to kind of look at this thing's paws, see if there's a. He never saw what killed his people.
Right.
This is a pretty strong contender.
Right.
He wants to kind of look at the claws a bit to see if he can get a better idea if this was the culprit.
Yeah, you lift up the paws and you have to dust off some of the snow that's on it, but there are 4 probably about 6-inch black claws that come out of this thing, and they look like dark black, almost obsidian, like they're just glistening. There's no chips in them. They're just big, they're thick, and yeah, the inner layer of that white fur within that paws is dyed brown. Just blood has been on it so much that it's just kind of stained that fur. If you'd encountered one of these things out there, these were probably the reason people didn't go out of the northern gate, because they can hide, and they are just immensely big.
Seeing that, Lark kind of connecting the dots. He's at this point. He's like, he even says this out loud. It was this thing. This beast took them from me.
Abraham kind of comes up and grabs your shoulder. Are you okay? It's dead. Something killed it.
Its death does not bring back what we lost. But
Abraham,
maybe it perishing will bring some level of closure to the others. And Lark, he reaches into his robes again, and this time he takes Abraham's knife and hands it to him. We're taking the paw back as proof.
Absolutely. Yeah. He goes. You can tell he's a bit cautious about it. I don't think he's ever seen. He may have been with you or not. I think he's still fairly new, so I'm not sure if.
It was on the way to the castle, and we hadn't recruited anyone since then.
Right.
So he knew the 2 people that died on the way to the
Right.
castle, and was
So
probably.
maybe-
I don't think anyone didn't see their shredded remains.
Right. So
'Cause
maybe that's what's causing him to be a bit just like very careful with it.
Yeah, because we picked up what was left of them and bundled up their destroyed sacks, so everyone saw what happened. And Lark just kind of like looks back to Peter quick. This will only take a moment. It's important to me. I'm sorry if it holds us up.
Kind of looks
We were
over,
gonna
seeming.
get held up anyway. As Sam suddenly pulls a knife out of one of her boots and starts skinning the bear.
All right. Yeah.
Just
I mean-
Abraham with like this tiny little like switchblade type knife. Then we got a Bowie knife.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny situation because yeah, you have Abraham down there trying to cut this massive paw by the centimeter with his tiny little pocket knife, and Sam has just hopped up on the back of this thing, grabbed it by a fold of its skin, and just like a razor beginning to shred this thing.
Lark will definitely help. He'll use his knife as well. It's still a massive paw, and our knives are probably nothing compared to what Sam is carrying.
Also, Sam's just gonna see this and just kind of kick her shoe at him and have another knife fly out, land at their feet. Like, use that. We ain't got time all day.
Yeah, and it's not like a kitchen knife. It's like a butcher knife falls out of her pant leg and lands in front of you.
Lark kind of nods to Abraham, it kind of like signaling him to pick it up.
He does, and he starts hacking away at this paw. Peter kind of looks and just ignores you for a moment. He's already started getting his workers to maneuver the oxen up and around. Look has re-centered himself, sees what you're doing to the bear, and kind of shakes his head, but goes and just starts shoveling the path just so that once you're done, you're able to move. You're all very careful to kind of avoid the area of the maggots. And after, honestly, it doesn't take that long. Maybe even just half an hour. You have a snow bear paw and pelt minus. I don't know if you could go higher than the shoulder, so it's kind of like from the shoulders down. You're able to get a pretty decently sized bearskin rug if you wish to do something like that.
I'm actually going to use this slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
After fully skinning it and cleaning it, obviously, making sure there's no maggots on this thing, Sam's going to put it over her armor.
Okay.
To try and blend in with the surroundings in the snow. Just like this bear.
I like it.
Use whatever you find.
Even though you cleaned it, I imagine there's still like, it's not like tanned or anything, so there's still a good amount of grime getting all over the armor spikes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, with
that's why it's red.
Right.
The grime is from. There's a reason why it's red. That ain't paint.
While this is all happening, I mean, Dusk, you're here, you're watching this, like you're seeing Abraham's timid, hacks at the paw. Anything? I mean, you definitely you've had experiences with the maggots in other ways. You saw. I'm trying to remember exactly. You saw it when the strange man Princey originally came there. You saw that squirming bit of flesh. But yeah, I think you've known of these strange maggots. You've at least overheard it. So I'll kind of ask. You wouldn't say have full control over his body, but is there anything you specifically are trying to look for or have him do?
You're talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, she didn't see the scene in the castle. I mean, I don't think she has seen a similar thing when, like, before she arrived in the castle, she kind of lived a bit in the wilds. Like, she occasionally went to settlements to get some food, but didn't really stay there for long.
Right.
But I assume this is still something new to her, and
yeah.
Well,
you continue to kind of watch this for a while, but you're kind of pulled out of it as there's a large slam coming from down the hallway, and you hear some shuffling, the sound of muffled screaming.
I'll go take a peek.
As you look outside, you see someone you at least have recognized there. Larissa is being manhandled into the back tower by two of these individuals from Portum. One of them has the hand around her mouth, the other one has a hand around her waist. And even though she's missing a hand, you see her reach down to her waistband and turn around and shove a blade beneath the chin of the individual that has their hand around the mouth. Blood begins to spray on her face, and you see her go from, like, it's not fear in her face, it's anger. And you see her trying to go at the other guy, and they begin to fight down in the hallway.
Meanwhile, Lark sneezes. just An omen?
Okay.
The guy from Portum, he's just wearing, he didn't have any headgear. He's just trying to grab his neck, and he's falling down, kind of starting to slip on the blood as it just kind of gushes from his neck. The other guy, he's a bit bigger, kind of has that biker look to him. You see him go and pull out a much larger blade, and you might be a bit surprised. Larissa's not, she's a lot quicker than you might have thought her. And he's just a big, stumbling idiot. And every time he takes a swipe at her, she goes and she nicks him here. And he goes around, he tries to elbow her, and she ducks again, and she just pokes him in the back. This is not a fight. He is now her plaything.
Okay. Guess I'm going to read the situation.
Okay, absolutely.
Oh my god. I'm just over here with my face in my hands, like, oh god.
Oh.
Shit's hitting the fan real quick.
Okay.
Welcome to Apocalypse World.
Welcome. So as you kind of step into the hallway to see what's going on, the door opens behind you, and another two of these individuals enter from Portum. They see you, and they don't know exactly what you are. You look like a fucking ghost, and they're not sure what ghosts really are, or why you're here, or why are you this. One of them unfortunately has a handgun, and he just shoots like, there's a ghost here. I'm dumb. I'm gonna shoot at it.
Oh Christ. I honestly feel bad for the guy with the gun because he just made the biggest mistake anyone has made in this entire campaign.
So you hear the door slam behind you, so you turn around, yeah, and then you just see the flash as this gun rings out. What do you want to do?
Dodge.
Awesome. Yeah, you're gonna like dive right back into your room, I'm guessing. Yeah, do something under
Just
fire.
Just blur out of the way.
Yeah. Do something under fire, which is a cool roll for me.
Oh, thank God this game doesn't have crits.
All right. Let's see here. There's something about guns, maybe about them, about this whole situation that just has you off your game. You go to dive in, but you just dive into the doorway, and the bullet hits you square, poof, right in the chest. I'm not sure if we see blood or anything, but I am gonna have you do the suffer harm move. This is a 2 harm revolver that he's using. So when you suffer harm, and this is for you, Star, when you suffer harm in this game, I'll tell you what the damage is, and then there's a specific move that you roll to kind of see how bad it is. So when you suffer harm, you roll plus harm suffered after armor if you're wearing any. On a 10 plus...
Yeah, I have impossible reflexes.
Right, and that gives you 1 armor, I think?
I mean, it depends. I'm not sure if she's just like wearing her nightgown. Does that count as almost naked?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you don't have anything. So yeah, in that case, it's 2 armor. Yeah, because you're definitely naked or nearly naked. You're wearing nothing but a robe. You're a freaking spirit here. That they're seeing a ghost. So you're just sheets. So yeah, no, in that case, somehow, you're getting hit by the bullet, but just who you are, and maybe the fact that you're able to almost manipulate matter in a way, we may not be seeing blood, but we still do roll. So this is just a straight 2d6 roll then, because she has 2 armor, taking 2 harm, boom, it just equals out. We still roll it. You want to
fail this one.
Yeah, you want to miss this roll.
Okay, so do I just roll suffer harm from the character sheet?
I believe so, and it will give you the option to
add
like how much harm.
It's 2, but with the armor, it becomes
It's
0.
0, right? So it's just a straight 2d6 roll. Okay, so on a 7 to 9. So the options I have here are: you lose your footing, you lose your grip on whatever you're holding, you lose track of someone or something you're attending to, or you miss noticing something important. Yeah, no, I think it makes sense. You just slammed into a doorway, and this bullet hits you, and you just fall flat on your ass. Like you're now there, down, sitting in this hallway. Larissa is currently dicing up Fat Man one way. These two dudes are still freaking out, but now seeing that there's some kind of physical matter, like they just shot something and it just fell down. I think the wraith mentality has kind of slimmed down for them. But let's transition back into the field as you finished with the bear. The wagon's been moved, and everyone begins to kind of move forward. After a little bit, Sam looks over to you and just says, "You seem different than the typical men of Portum. I've never known one of them to, well, I don't mean to be blunt, really have a brain in their head. Your thought to use the fur of that creature as something to keep you warm, ingenious.
It's more than to keep one warm. If it can hide in the snow, it can hide me too. They won't see me coming before I blow their brains across the snow.
Of course. That's very smart. If we come across another one of those things, I might have to take one for myself. No, that is
I want to try when it's not breathing. Something tells me these things aren't exactly the easiest to take down.
And Lark kind of chimes in. Yet something seems to have taken down that beast. Those maggots are familiar to me. The Emperor had some not too long ago. Can't help but wonder if it has something to do with this Princey that we're going to meet. If so, that would make the conversation much, much more interesting.
Most likely some type of new parasite that decided to burrow its way out, leaving its eggs behind.
Perhaps. You, though, I definitely agree with Peter. You definitely seem to be capable of thought much easier than majority of those.
Idiots.
That's one word for it.
It's the correct word for it.
I prefer to use the term fodder.
Not even worth that. Fodder at least can move fast. Makes for a good target practice.
I don't believe I caught your name.
Sam.
Sam. Interesting. And you came up with the Night Sentinel and all those soldiers?
In a sense.
So, you don't consider yourself one of them?
Do I look like one of those freaking ingrates to you?
No, but that still brings up the question why you were with them and what brought you here. A story I very much am eager to hear.
I was looking for work. There was work here. They were going. One thing led to another. Here I am. End of story.
Interesting, but all too similar to others I've heard. It's the details that make the story, my friend.
The devil's in the details. That's why we shoot it in the face.
Lark kind of smirks a little bit at that. I think I want to try to read Sam right now. This is Lark's thing. He's meeting a new person. He's sizing them up a bit.
Yeah.
He very much wants to know what you're all about and what he can do to sell you on his ideology.
Right. Roll that.
All right.
Roll that sharp.
All right. Does Sam want to help or interfere?
Right. So that's another option, I guess. That's a good point. Thank you for reminding me. When someone is doing something to either possibly assist you or, in this case, reading you, if you want to make it more difficult for them, there is another move called help and interfere. And it's just whenever you help or interfere with someone making a roll, you roll plus history, and on a 10 plus, they take +2 or -2 if you're helping or interfering on their roll. On a 7 to 9, they take +1 or -1. On a miss, be prepared for the worst. So if you have a moment, you might see this guy kind of squaring you down, giving you a bit of a read. And if you wanted to be like, bro, I am encased in armor and riot face mask, there's nothing you can see here, boom, I'm going to make this more difficult, we could definitely do that.
Yeah, that's definitely what would happen. She would not want this guy trying to size up, especially since there's other reasons. But yeah, no, she ain't too kind to that.
Perfect. So go ahead and roll plus, the hex you have. So if that's, I guess,
Is that -2?
yeah.
So like this.
Let's see.
All right.
Perfect. So in that case, we'll go ahead and have you read the situation at a -1 from whatever your normal stat is there, Lark.
Oh.
Ooh, okay.
I don't. Wow. Apparently, you didn't even need to try to stop me.
You know what?
There is absolutely no seeing through all that armor. I can't read any facial expressions at all.
I think this is easy. We're gonna flip it on its side. Since you got a partial success, we're just gonna pretend that instead of you reading Sam, Sam's reading you. So go ahead and ask Lark one of the questions from Read a Situation or Read a Person.
Automatically, right off the bat, what does he intend to do by asking me all these questions? Why is he being nosy as fuck?
You get the impression there's kind of like a practiced way Lark goes about talking and asking these questions. So he's done this before, and it seems to be he wants to know what makes you tick. He wants you to be putty in his hands. He wants to know how to push you in the directions he wants.
Alright. Immediately upon seeing that, the shotgun's gonna slowly raise up and just point towards his chin and go, listen, I've seen your kind before. Last time I dealt with them, it didn't end pretty. I'd stop there if I were you.
Lark kind of he doesn't really bat an eyelash, even though inside there's like internal screaming. He kind of like holds up a hand because I assume Abraham would react to this, especially since I'm just realizing I never took the knife back from him.
Yeah, he's already come up. He's grabbed you by the shoulder and he has the knife down, like he doesn't have it raised, but you can tell that if that gun's going off, he's throwing you down and he's taking the bullet for you.
Lark kind of just like holds up his hands and just looks at Sam. Fair enough. We're both here to do a job after all. No need for pleasantries.
Glad we understand each other. And shotgun's gonna go back on her hip.
Lark kind of like continues to look at Sam just a little bit, thinking, all right, a tough nut. Nothing I haven't cracked before. And just kind of nods a bit and goes back to looking forward down the path they're traveling.
Old Peter's kind of observed the situation. Everything okay with you two? We still have quite a ways to go. So if it's all
fine.
All right. Well,
everything is excellent.
I guess in that case, Sam, do you mind getting back to shoveling then? Looks like we're about
Yeah.
to come across some more thick snow there.
She'll go back, pick up the shovel that she ditched earlier, and goes back to work. Not much more. Not much more.
Sounds good. All right, well, Dusk, I've just brought you to a professionally drawn little art space here. You know, I know you all wish you could see it because it's a work of art, and I've had to just randomly grab things. This is the situation right now for poor little Dusk. You've just been shoosted. You've just been shot and knocked down to the ground, and now these two brutish thugs from Portum, they no longer see a ghost here. They see a teenage girl, and they probably don't have the greatest thoughts in their mind, but they definitely know that there's some things going on down the hallway that they're not interested in. So the one with the gun, he just sits there and points it at you, just kind of watching you, while the other one, the one that has a pretty large blade on him, he begins to run down the hallway. He is going to run past you. Is there anything you want to do?
Okay, so I guess I'm going to try and read the guy. Can I like do that from my stationary position?
Yeah, just reading a person. Absolutely. You're just kind of looking over how he's acting, you know, where he's looking, all that kind of stuff. Are you trying to read the guy that's running past you, or the one with the gun pointed at you?
The one with the gun, but like pretending that I'm unconscious from the shot.
Okay. Yeah, I guess in one case, just to see if he's gonna think you're unconscious, what I'm gonna have you do here, I guess this is a tough one. I think I might just have you roll. I feel like this might be cool, but it depends on how you're doing it. Are you trying to make yourself appear to still be this spirit, like maybe jittering or whatever you can do, what kind of manifestations you have, or is it more like, okay, they caught
No,
me?
she's completely limp.
Okay. Yeah, in that case where it's basically gonna be a do something under fire just to see if he buys it. Yeah.
Okay. It's cool.
Correct. Yep. Okay. So you flinch, hesitate, or stall. I'm gonna say basically what happens here is like he definitely thinks you've been knocked out by it, but he doesn't still trust you enough to necessarily take his eyes off you. Like, his task right now is just whatever you are. If you stay sleeping, that's completely fine with him because he trusted his buddy's going to be able to go handle the chick down at the end of the hallway. But yeah, I mean, from this point, with your eyes still closed, you could probably still read this person. Or do you feel like instead of reading him through just physically, are you closing your eyes and opening your mind to the situation?
I just wanted to know if he was really going to stay there.
Yeah, I mean, while he thinks you're passed out, you don't see him looking down the hallway as you would expect him to do. You see him with the gun out, just kind of pointed. I think once he sees that you're knocked out, he doesn't necessarily, it's not stiff, like, you know, full on twitching. It's kind of loosened down, but his eyes are just looking down, and he's trying to figure out what you are. Like, why are you dressed this way? Why do you look the way you do? You know, he's confused about what he's looking at a little bit.
Okay. In that case, I think I'm going to use the brain relay is like an hologram or something, right?
Let's see. The brain relay. If someone can see your brain relay, they can see you. Yeah, it's.
I think we discussed that before. Mechanically, it's just something that you can take advantage of to not put yourself in danger when you want to use some of your brainer moves. But I
Right.
think we flavored it like Dusk, for some reason, has this ability to project an image of herself.
Right. Yeah, so it's more like if you wanted to implant puppet strings on someone from a distance or things like that, whatever other moves you have. So
Direct brain whisper projection.
right. Yeah, no, I think that would definitely work here. I don't know if you're actually creating another version of yourself.
Oh my god, there's gonna be like another Dusk appearing behind this guy, like full on Omewamu Shinderu Nani? And he's gonna get puppets.
It just blows up.
Mhm.
That is it within Dusk's power, unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's
but
the. Let's see. You can roll plus weird to get the effects of going aggro without going aggro. Your victim has to be able to see you, but you don't have to. Yep, absolutely. No, that would definitely work. That would definitely work.
okay, so basically use the brain relay behind them and use direct brain whisper projection to go aggro.
Yeah, you trying to basically manipulate him to think that what he's looking at isn't the real thing. It's actually whatever appears behind him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that sounds good. So I guess we start with the first part of that, the brain relay. What, like, how do you get his attention initially? Do you find a way to have it make a sound? Do you have it like run past? What's the initial way?
Yeah, so I think like the projection fades in front of him, like just a really scary, mean version of Dusk, and then it just flies past him to get his attention.
Yeah, I think the sign of movement definitely causes him to just freak out for a second. Like, what? Where did that come from? So he spins around, kind of following this thing. You have it turn around, and then you blast off on him. And yeah, I think that for going aggro, it says when you go aggro on someone, make it clear what you want them to do and what you'll do to them if they don't. And then for you, I believe it's roll plus weird, but normally it'd be a roll plus hard. And then on a 10 plus, they have to choose. So it's basically you're now saying, brah, you're in my house now. So what is it you want them to go? Run, leave, drop the
I want
gun?
I want him to shoot himself.
Oof.
No, actually, shoot his friend.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I again, remind me, for you it is weird. Are there any other changes to that for Brain Whisper?
Wait. It's weird for me.
Yeah, but is there anything
yeah.
else? Do you get extra selections or anything?
No, I don't think so.
Let's see. Yeah, I think it's just changing when you roll weird.
Dust, did you take the Merciless move as well?
No, I took not to be fucked with. I think
Okay, you were debating
superior.
between the two.
Right. Yeah.
I was thinking this guy might take additional harm for this as well.
Well,
Yeah, my mind counts as a weapon. And
Yep.
I'm with not to be fucked with. I'm like a small gang.
Right. Yep.
Oh, so he will take extra damage. Oh no.
Mm-hmm, against a single target. So yeah, for that, it looks like you do have the option of causing him some harm in his own mind. So let's go ahead and roll plus weird and just see how well this going aggro works for you to begin with. Oh yeah, it works very well. So you want him to shoot his friend. He has to choose to either force her hand and suck it up or cave and do what you want. He is now staring at another ghost. Ooh, this is tough because the Men of Portum... I guess, Sam, maybe you can give some clarification here. They how well do they care about each other? Like, they're in it for
Not at
themselves
all.
mostly.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like how Sam is talking right now. Though they're brain dead idiots, that also means they don't really care about one another. They're all in it for themselves.
Right.
They're much more mercenaries than the close knit band that we've seen the Legion be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're not gang. They're not a gang of mercenaries. They're just a group of
Right.
random mercenaries.
Yeah, no, in that case, this creepy girl here is a lot scarier and threatening to his life than his buddy running down the hallway. So he turns around and blast. Shot rings out, and you see the back of the guy's head just explode in viscera. He falls down dead. The shots ringing out, you see that the fat man at the end of the hallway, he's starting to slow down. He's having to put his hand up on the hallway, and it's kind of slipping from all the blood. And after another moment, you see Larissa jump, still only using her one hand, kind of jumps to the back and kicks out his knee. And as he drops to the ground, she just grabs him by the forehead, brings it back, and whispers something in his ear before cutting his throat. Back on the trail. Time's gonna jump around a little bit just because of the situations. It'll all come back together once you're all back together, but for now it's gonna jump. But you begin to move along. The trail itself is becoming a bit thinner as the peaks and the hills become closer together. The snow still remains, about 4-6 inches deep, so it's still a decent work. And after a little while, you come across where these two, it's almost like a canyon kind of forms. They're not equal, they're kind of at diagonal, so you have to go around one rock wall and into another. And Sam, you probably, are looking around this rock wall back a ways, kind of up a hill. You do see that there is a cave. There appears to be snow kind of piled up in front of it. And looking through the snow, you can see areas where something has moved through there before the last snowfall.
Everyone be on guard. They might have that bear's mate around nearby.
Lark yells up to Peter. Looks like you'll be getting your coat a bit quicker than you expected.
Oh, that was Look that had said that, not
Or
Peter.
Look,
yeah,
my
you're
bad.
good. Yeah, but no, Peter hearing this, you see him pull the sheet up a bit, and he just rests his hand on his shotgun. All right, then. Toss the shovels in the back. Sam, Look, you two, get out there, do your jobs. Let us know when it's all clear. Look kind of sighs, takes his shovel.
Keep an eye out yourself. It might not be around here. Might be coming back home soon. Keep an eye on your back. I'm gonna toss the shovel and bust out the shotgun to go towards the cave.
All right. Lark will go up to the cave as well.
Okay.
He's very much interested in seeing how Sam operates.
As you begin to kind of trudge, the snow gets a bit deeper as it's built up against this wall towards the cave, but you do see what appears to be very large paw prints that have been covered in a fresh layer of snow, leading to the cave, maybe coming from it's hard to tell the direction, whether it's going to or coming from. Getting closer to the cave, you start to hear the sounds of drip of water kind of melting and splashing. Look takes the bow off his chest and pulls an arrow from it and just kind of walks with it with the bow in his hand, just kind of looking, trying to allow his eyes to adjust, to look deeper in the cave. You're able to see in maybe a good 5-6 feet before it gets too dark to really see, the back of it. The snow goes in, a good 3 or 4 feet into this cave. It begins to melt past that. It appears to be maybe a place where water had come at one point. Maybe this had been a waterfall that led to the river you had crossed, or it does seem to be a natural cave, not anything that someone had built. You begin to approach, and right now all you hear is just the sound of drips further into the cave. They don't sound too far away, and even off the sound, especially for you, Lark, having been in the hills, you know how you can hear if it's a large space that something's dripping in. It doesn't seem that large. It seems to be, medium size, and you don't hear it ringing further back in.
How much does this remind Lark of the vision he had when he asked the entity about Princey? The three-eyed figure walking into the water.
No, because what you saw there was an ice cavern. It was a place of solid ice. This is rock and stone, so it doesn't have many similarities.
All right. In which case, Lark is just kind of cautiously moving around the space, seeing if there's anything of note. Not getting too far from Sam or Look as he does this.
Right. Sounds like you're reading a situation.
It sounds like I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. Would Sam be helping with this?
She probably would, but she want to do something a little bit first. That cave's pretty dark, so... DM, is there any branches nearby that are still on the tree, just low-hanging, that don't look like they've been covered by too much snow, if any, due to the fact of them being so low on the tree?
It snows a lot. I would say if you took some time, you probably be able to find it. Honestly, I have a feeling they probably have firewood and stuff to make that in the back of the wagon. So you might be able to grab some kind of kindling or something just from back there, because they are planning on camping a little bit out here in the mountains anyways. So yeah, I have no doubt you can find something.
Then yeah, I'll probably want to try and grab some kindling or something I can use to make a makeshift torch.
Right.
And I'm gonna just put on the ground on my feet real quick, lift up my boot, pull out a knife, and strike the bottom of my boot. Because the bottom of my boots are whetstones that I use to sharpen my knives. So I'm gonna try and light a spark off that to light the kindling.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. I'm not sure if there's really anything. Yeah, no, I mean that it makes sense. I think just because it doesn't matter if you've been trotting along, it's just a matter of the friction that you're causing there, and it's stuff that they're specifically planning to make camping supplies with. Yeah, you get a torch pretty quick. It lights up. It starts to shine on all the snow around, almost causing the area to illuminate a bit more than the sun did. This little canyon you're going through, the walls themselves are 150 feet high, but the width is no more than maybe 25 or so feet. This cave is up a little bit of a hill, maybe an extra 30 or 40 feet up the hill before it gets to this area, and the whole place kind of lights up with this orangish glow. But you go in to give a bit of light while Lark kind of searches around. I'm going to say that for this, I'm not going to actually have you make a roll. I'm just going to say that this is a +1 bonus automatically to your check, just to get a better perspective in. Because with that negative, I'm not sure if even a +1 is going to be giving you a better chance of success. So we'll just...
All right, so I'll just take 1 forward on my read a situation roll.
Right, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So for read a sitch, let's see. I will say, what should I be on the lookout for?
Okay. As you look deeper into the cave, you see something glistening from the ceiling, maybe about 10 feet in, and it starts to slope a bit deeper, and the torch isn't kind of casting all the way back. And at first you think, is it just water? But as you look a bit closer, it looks like eyes, many tiny, teeny little eyes are reflecting the torch's light back at you.
Are those tiny eyes? Like there's an animal or something in this cave?
Imagine seeing a bunch of spiders looking at you. Yeah.
Lark backs up slowly.
See something there?
Yes, on the ceiling. If you hold your torch up, you will, well, you'll see that we have intruded on someone's home.
What I surmised. Just gonna hold it up a little bit, not fast, just slowly, just to try and get some light up there.
As you lean it in a bit further, you can see towards the back of the cave, and you study the ceiling, but you also notice that your light begins to cast on something big and white. And you look up at the ceiling, you can see the eyes, but you don't... It's weird. They seem to be reflecting, and there is movement, but you don't necessarily see the being it is attached to. It seems to be blending in. So beyond the little flick in the eye, you would have no idea that these things were there.
What the hell? And just gonna start slowly walking back and motion for the guy who's with us to just slowly step out of that fucking cave for the moment.
Lark kind of takes a deep breath after he's outside of what he considers the danger zone. Those
aren't natural.
Peter kind of
No.
calls out, What's going on?
Lark looks.
Immediately, Sam turns and throws a finger up in front of her face to say, "Shh."
He looks at Look, and Look has backed up too. You just see him looking specifically at Sam, like, okay, whatever this person's gonna do, I'm gonna do my best to do it with them, but I don't know what the hell I'm looking at here. I've seen, you can tell he's seen things. He's probably seen these bears before, but he has no idea what a whole bunch, hundreds of glistening eyes on the rooftop of a cave is.
Lark kind of takes a breath. And Sam, this is probably gonna look incredibly strange to you. Lark just gets down on his knees, pulls something out of his robe, clasped in 2 hands, and begins praying.
Abraham immediately comes over while you're doing this to just stand in front of you watching the cave. But please open your mind for me.
All right. What can possibly go wrong?
Mhm.
Opening my mind to the strange and unnatural psychic powers of the world. Nice.
Absolutely nothing. All right. So yeah, I guess you find yourself having to allow your eyes to adjust from just the harsh light of the snow. Finding yourself in a familiar place, a darkened room. In fact, I think you might find yourself kneeling in front of the small altar you've built at the castle in your church. And as the candlelight flickers, you see your shadow begin to grow upon the wall, and after a moment you recognize that the entity he is there and he is behind you.
Forgive my intrusion in your domain, but it seems not all is right with the world outside the walls.
There are many things wrong with this world that you will set right. What is it that troubles you this day?
These creatures, the bears were one thing, and hopefully they will never again rend the flesh of your followers, but these spiders, they are strange and new to me. And the maggots before I don't recall seeing insects in these snow-capped mountains before. What I would need to know, is this an obstacle that must be overcome? A new foe that must be destroyed? A potential ally? I simply am unsure what the proper route is in this strange new encounter.
Entity, faceless, this being of dark stone approaches you and puts its hand on your shoulder.
Lark shivers a little bit, like,
You shiver a bit more than that because as he rests it there, you feel it feels like spiders walking across your neck.
oh Christ.
These
Ugh.
are not things to be fearful of, as you are my child, as are they. They only wish to bring my love, as you do, to many, those that walk across this land. They come from my home. And you see the wall fade in front of you, and you come across this scene of the castle, but again, in summertime, green, trees growing, but the castle's not there. You're just standing watching nature. And off across the peaks where the dark zone is, it's no longer a dark zone, but it's a large tree. And every once in a while, you will see this leaf fall off the tree and drift across the wind and land itself somewhere within the valleys. And that part will become shaded. And another one will come across and drift across the wind and make another part shaded and dark. When it comes off, comes across the wind, and it hits you, you begin to find yourself slipping into that dark water. You have a moment still to ask a final question before he pushes you out of there, thinking that he has answered your question. Do you resist to try to find out more?
Lark will, because the last thing he wants to ask, before I return to the mortal world, do I have safe passage from these creatures, or should I simply turn away?
They cannot do anything to those I have already touched, but if there are those around you that could use with my blessing, they could be useful to you. Use them as you would any other follower of mine. They will obey. I will make it so.
All right. As Lark slips back into consciousness. As this was happening, because Sam is holding the torch, Sam probably noticed Lark's shadow suddenly started behaving erratically. Like, not horribly noticeable, it was a bit subtle, but it didn't match his movements. And there's probably a brief moment where Sam could have sworn the shadow smiled at him.
When Lark comes out of that trance, if Sam did see this, there's gonna be a knife to his throat.
Okay. I'm gonna say then, and I guess because Abraham is there, just kind of watching over. So let's go through that. As Lark is still in his mental state, you notice that the shadows that are being cast like into the cave, for whatever reason, Lark's shadow seems to be moving and twisting in a way that the sun is not shining and your torch is not shining. If we were to look at it from top down, it appears that this dark zone, a place that maybe Sam has not quite seen yet, maybe you have, if that was shining a light, that is where his shadow has gone. And you see it pace and jump back and forth. Abraham sees this and recognizes what's happening, but he is focused on the cave. So you see this, Sam. Yeah, I guess what do you do?
As I see this, I slowly move the torch just to make sure it keeps casting in the exact same way, so the light doesn't flicker and change for those looking in. But slowly gonna reach down into the boot, pull out a smaller knife, not butcher size, but more like straight up switchblade, and slowly take it, bend down next to Lark, and put it right at his throat. Just sit there, waiting. Just for the slightest movement.
So I think there's gonna have to be a way for you to do this. You're gonna have to get Abraham to allow you to do this, which is gonna be pretty hard to do because he's there right now as Lark's bodyguard. So
there are several layers to that protection. He's a devout follower and possessed by a ghost.
Exactly. Like, he's basically had a brain bomb implanted that he has to be his shield. So we can definitely go aggro. If you're trying to go aggro on Abraham just to get him out of your way, we can start with that. I think we got a couple minutes while Lark is still speaking that he's not knowing what's happening. He's in his fantasy world.
Oh yeah, straight kick this kid out of my way.
Okay, so we're gonna have you go aggro. Basically, you're pulling this blade and you're giving him a look through those dark, lenses that you want him out of your way. So what we're gonna do is have you roll plus hard, and we're gonna see what happens here.
All right.
Okay, so I guess what happens to Abraham if he doesn't move? Because he's not just gonna cave, so he's gonna basically force your hand and suck it up. So what is it that you do to him? You stab him? You throw him over? Like, what's his consequence?
Is he gonna directly try and stop me, or is he gonna start moving towards me?
I think. Are you approaching with a knife in your hand or not?
No, this was all trying to be as slick.
Yeah, I think
so. Just not to make our boss angry, but just slowly doing this.
Right.
Also to not disturb Lark.
If you're not approaching necessarily aggressively, if anything, he might move out of your way and shift back behind both of you, just to try to keep an eye. He might find it a bit peculiar that you're there. But on your way there, I guess if you're saying you need to get out of my way, you're a big threatening person. So I guess, again, the question is, if he decides not to move to get out of your way, what's going to happen to him?
How big is he?
Abraham is not terribly big, and he's probably 20 at the oldest.
Yeah, let's see.
He's of average height, like 5'8" to 5'10", or...
He's
somewhere around
Yeah.
there.
wearing like he's got some very basic, like if he had found a clothing store a long time ago, kind of winter coat, an orange windbreaker on, and just a tiny little pocket knife in his hand. But he is cautious, you know, and again he's quite protective at the moment.
Alright, so I'm gonna walk right up to him because I know he's gonna try and stop me because I saw how he acted earlier and how they were connected.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna look at him through those lenses. And if he doesn't move, I'm gonna pick him up by that coat and toss him aside. Not like hard, but enough to throw his ass on the floor.
Right.
Get, like just, you didn't move, out of the way.
Okay. Yep. I think that's exactly what happens here is, even though you're not necessarily moving, the moment you give him that look, the I need you to move, like he locks up. And you might see for a moment, like there's a bit of fear in his eyes, but there's something deeper in his mind that's saying, if you don't protect Lark right now, your brain is going to pop and it's going to hurt. You know, he just knows bad things are going to happen. So I'm going to say for this one, I mean, you have, he does have a knife out. So if you try to grab him, he might try to poke you. So in that case, let's see, I'm trying to think what we want to do here. I almost think this is a seize by force situation where you're literally you want him out of this position while you have the chance. You don't know what Lark's doing. You don't know how long he's going to be doing it, but you do not feel comfortable with it. And right now, Abraham's the only issue you have. So when you seize something by force, you first exchange harm, but first roll hard. So your harm is basically going to be your throw.
Which is +1 since I'm not to be fucked with.
Right. And I think, so that would probably be 2 harm, you know, just because of who you are. He has a little knife, which I think, let's see, let me pull up all my list of weapons here.
I think it's a 2.
Yeah, so you're basically equal, 2 harm, 2 harm. He doesn't have any armor at all.
I have +1 armor too, so
Yeah.
that means I have 3 armor to his 2.
Right,
Oh my
and
God.
he has no armor. But yeah, basically let's start off by roll plus hard. As you come at him, he sees you, like he gives you this look of, what are you doing? And then you pick him up to try to throw him out of the way, and he tries to find an opening in your armor, which is not likely. Oh yeah. Okay. So on a 10 plus, you get to choose 3 of these options. So you can inflict terrible harm, which is an additional +1 harm. You can suffer little harm, which is -1 harm. You take definite and undeniable control of Lark. You impress, dismay, or frighten your enemy. So I think I know which 3 you would pick, but I'm not going to speak for you.
So yeah, scare the
It's
shit
just
out
a
of him.
boy.
That's 1. Take complete and utter control. In fact, I'm gonna take that fucking knife.
There you go.
Because he was gonna try and stab me. That knife is mine. So I'm gonna take that out of his hand and then toss his ass off. And put that knife to Lark's throat. And what was the other 2 options again? Sorry.
Yep. So you can suffer little harm, which is -1 harm. I don't think you're
Yeah, suffer little harm.
okay.
Might as well, because I don't exactly want to hurt this kid. I can tell that with that showing of fear, that means that, yeah, he knows that it's bad to fuck with me, but something else must be keeping him to do it. And that little shadow display makes me think this fucker right here that's praying has something to do with it. So,
Right.
not gonna hurt this kid yet.
Okay. So
Take that fucking knife.
you're suffering little harm. You impress, dismay, or frighten him, and then you take definite, undeniable control of it, which basically means like you get to Lark, you get the knife to him, and Look is not doing anything to fuck with you. Like he's staying back. He's just like, I don't know what the situation is.
I imagine the actual action part of that sequence was so fast he really didn't have time to react.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm still going to have you take the harm move, but it's going to be a 2d6 -1. So we're just going to subtract 1, which is good. You want to miss it. But it's just a matter if he does anything with his little, poke in your ribs, if he's successful in any way.
Alright. So that's like 4 armor, I guess, technically speaking? Like
Pretty
minus
much.
1 harm and then the armor kicks in?
Yeah, so I think it's just 2d6 minus 1. Because he was doing 2, you have 3. So actually it's minus 2. 2d6 minus 2.
Okay, so how do I roll that?
Just roll 2d6 and we'll subtract 2 from it. You can do /R 2d6. Perfect. Yeah. No, nothing happens, which I didn't think it would anyways. That pretty much so you pick him up, you throw him. You weren't really trying to hurt him. You still like get him enough out of the way. I think he probably slams into the wagon and just gets the wind knocked out of him. Like he's just kind of gasping and needs a moment. And in that moment, we're going to actually transition back to the hallway here because, shit's popping off and we got to see what's happening. So, yeah.
Popping because he shot him.
Right. So, yeah, back here, Dusk, you've just used your projection to force this guy to shoot this other guy. So he's dead. There's one dead body here. I don't know why I removed him, but yeah, there's already one dead body in your hallway. There's a second one as Larissa has just cut the throat of the other guy. And you still kind of have some control over the guy with the gun, but you're not really concerned about that. It's more the yelling voices that are coming from outside, because it definitely sounds like, okay, people have heard these gunshots and there's about to be a fucking crowd in here. Larissa kind of turns and sees you down the hallway, and there's a brief connection, maybe just because of the conversations. Lark's told them to stay away, but there's something special about you, and she is just covered in blood, just drenched in it. And for the first time, you kind of see a bit of fear, because she can hear the voices outside. She can still see the guy with the gun there. What do you want to do?
I'm going to use Winter's Whistling Winds on the guy with the gun.
Ooh, yeah.
She's just going to snap open her eyes and look at him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's so weird.
That is weird, yep. Oh, yeah. Perfect. So on that, I believe they receive the message. Let's see. Let me pull it back up again. They receive the message as well as you holding one puppet string over them. So, yeah.
I forgot about the puppet string.
Right. Yeah. No, this is another custom move that we did. So what is your message, first of all? What are you telling him?
Well, the message and the puppet string command are the same thing, basically. Mm-hmm. So she's just going to order him to go outside and shoot all the... What's the city, the town called?
The castle. Portum.
All the Portum mercenaries he can find.
Oh my god.
All right. Awesome. I love it. Yeah, and basically, if that's your puppet string, again, he is scared to hell of you. He has no idea what else to do, so he turns. His eyes are widest as they could be. His face is completely flushed. He already looks like a dead man, but he cannot control it. And you see him walk past you out in front of the door shuts, and immediately you just hear bang, 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 just guns. He starts popping off real fast. Larissa is wiping her face down. She's looking at the body, and you can again, she's kind of looking down to you. She doesn't know if she can approach you or not. She definitely doesn't want to run out into the courtyard yet, and you can tell she's looking back at the tower. Like she might be able to hide there if needed.
Dusk just rises up like nothing happened, and also snaps a look at Larissa, and it's intimidating as hell.
You trying to get her out of the hallway? Like out,
Yeah.
like just run out.
Get
there?
out.
Okay.
Literally, get out.
Yeah, no, she sees it, and I think there's like a moment where she's kind of sad, but then she almost, again, she didn't care about the big guy twice her size. You scare her, and she does. She just runs out of the other side, and you hear the gun go off like 2 more times before you just hear click, 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 slam, thud, squelch. And yeah, do you duck back into your room? What do you do? The hallway, other than these 2 bodies, for the moment is clear. There's chaos outside those doors, but in here, there's nothing but death and silence.
Dusk is shaking. She's losing it. She's completely bloodlusted, and there will be blood tonight.
Oh, goody. Yeah, do you go to hide somewhere? Do you wait for people to come in to investigate? What's your plan? Do you try to head up to the tower to look down and see what's going on? Like what do you want to do?
So basically, what Dusk is going to do right now, she's going to stalk up to 3. I keep forgetting the town's name.
Portum.
She's going to stalk 3 Portham mercenaries until nightfall, and then that's when she strikes.
Okay, no, I mean like right, because chaos is still happening. From what you can tell, again, the guy went out the door. He started shooting. His gun's now empty. It sounds like he was probably killed as well. But there are still people trying to make their way into this hallway because this is where the gunshots. So they need to see what happened.
Yeah, she's going to get out of there.
You heading like into your room to lock the door, or are you trying to head up to like the towers to hide up there?
If I go back into the room, I'll probably get cornered, so I'll just go up the tower.
Okay.
I'll lock the door to the room as best as I can before getting out.
Right. Yeah, basically, I'm going to have you do something under fire just to see if anyone happens to catch you leaving.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think as you begin to run out, you get right to the far tower, the tower that Larissa was at. And just as you're about to cross in, the door opens and the legate is standing there. And he sees you and he just smiles. And as he does, you see a flash of black behind his eyes. And he allows you to pass, go up the stairs, he steps in, kind of stands with his back towards the doorway to the entrance of the tower and sees the other men come in and begins to give them orders to get these bodies out of here. And it seems that he doesn't want anyone going into the tower with you. Has no reason to go and bother you.
She'll accept this. And will continue on her way.
As you get to the top of the tower and you look down into kind of the back area, there's a few houses, the bakeries there, then you have the marketplace. You look down towards the more southern tower, and there are the bodies of 7 Portum men, 6 of them shot. The one that you had puppet stringed has been gutted. It is a disturbing scene. There's just kind of chaos erupting as the bodies are pulled out. There are people trying to figure out what's happening. and you can see that there's a blood trail coming from the tower down below you, and you look as you recognize it's clearly Larissa is the one that left it, and it seems to lead back to the church. And after a few moments, someone in the Legion sees this blood trail as well. Maybe 3 of them. Ace, Monk, probably Doghead as well. Begin to follow that trail, and there's definitely you can't tell what's happening, but Rourke steps out of the church to confront these 3 men, and you can see that there is definitely some confrontation going on there. He does not want to allow them entry into the church at all. He's not raising his fist or anything like that. You can tell that the 3 officers of the Legion, they're getting agitated. They're starting to poke him in the chest. They're pointing down at this blood trail, walking away. The bodies from the portum eventually are picked up and taken to the incinerator, immediately just thrown in. They're stripped of everything. The people of Portum are not kind with their deceased. They strip them of anything useful. You probably even see a few of them going for like gold teeth or anything they might have in their mouth. They're just dead flesh at this point. Back at the trail site, Lark, you come out of your vision gasping for air and realizing it's still difficult to gasp as what is this cold? Where is Abraham? You have a knife to your throat.
And just for extra flavor, the mask is right next to his face.
Lark kind of takes a moment to take in what's happening. He's like, well, this doesn't usually happen when I come out of praying.
And normally shadows don't dance when people pray. You've got some explaining to do.
Are you sure you don't really seem much like the praying type?
I've had many pray before I buried them. Now, you're gonna tell me what that was. And if I don't like the answer, this knife slides. Are we clear?
Crystal. I'm not praying to empty air, Sam. I'm praying to the entity.
Mm-hmm.
And Lark still had like his hands clasped around the skull, and he kind of opens them up a little bit so Sam can see this black kind of obsidian-looking skull.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I don't think Lydia. Too many names. I don't think Sam would have seen this before. I was wondering if this is an artifact that. Well, Lark kept this thing a secret for Lark kept this a secret for a long time. His group itself is just figuring out about it. I was thinking that though. I my mind went down that same route, but
in fact, the only reason I was thinking about that is like that might have been what you tried to show that made my sister freak out and caused the bloodshed. That's why you kept.
I think what probably caused the bloodshed was me actually convincing several people to come with me.
Maybe.
Because Lark's good at that.
But yeah, I don't know about the skull then.
But yeah, so Lark kind of like reveals that. Do you require more explanation? Perhaps I can show you the entity, although...
You show me anything, this knife slides. I don't trust your kind.
What exactly is my kind?
But the knife slowly starts to pull away when it says that, though. Just like, you were talking and we're cooperating, so it's like slowly leaving, so you don't feel the cold steel against your throat anymore.
As soon as the knife is away, Lark immediately looks around to see where Abraham is.
He's still gasping for air. He's like curled up against the wagon from being thrown.
Lark assuming he's not facing any opposition as he does this, stands up, turns and goes to Abraham, kind of kneels down to him, puts a hand on his back, like just trying to be as comforting as he can.
He grabs it with all of his force, still like hurt. She took my fucking knife. Sorry, they. He doesn't know it. That was a GM she, not a character she.
Okay.
They.
Okay. I would have pointed it out if it was
Yeah.
super important at this point.
No. Yeah, they took my fucking knife.
Lark turns back to Sam and kind of like just like holds out a hand, like, give it back.
Slowly starts spinning it in her fingers. He goes like, he tries to stab me again. It goes through his throat. Got that, kid?
I don't know who the fuck. You can tell he's trying to be smart.
Yeah, Lark immediately
This
puts a
man
hand
here.
in front of him.
I will follow his orders only.
Lark kind of like holds up a hand like a little bit, like, don't say more, because yeah, like Abraham has had a habit of getting himself into trouble, so he's a bit worried Abraham will go further than is necessary in this situation.
Yeah, like Sam, you can tell he's not going to run over there and start a fight, but in his heart of hearts, he will die for this man there. So he can't promise necessarily he's going to not do anything if you try to do anything to Lark again.
Well, all Sam said is, if you try and stab me again,
Right.
I'll fucking kill you.
Yep.
That's it. It's like,
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't matter if you're trying to protect him or just if you try and stab me again, your head's leaving your shoulders. Plain and simple.
Yep.
You can do whatever else, but you try and stab me, your ass is grass. And she's gonna put the knife and just barely hold the tip of the blade and hold it out towards Lark. Keep that
Lark,
away from him. He doesn't seem very bright.
Lark just kind of smirks as he takes the knife back and puts it into his robes and just kind of looks at Sam. You certainly were a good pick for this job. How about we strike a deal?
Go on.
See, regardless of what you think of the man that stands before you, kind of gestures to himself, I actually am in very good standing with the Emperor. You came here for a job, and perhaps if you impress me, I'll put in a good word with you or the Emperor. Get you in a position where you don't need to be working for pocket change and scraps. Is that something that interests you?
I've lived off scraps all my life.
Oh, but it must get old after a while. Living off scraps must get so old after a while. You saw the creature in the cave, yes?
That and the bear and that thing.
Bring me the spider's head, and I will put in a very, very good word in with the Emperor, with my group, and with the entity.
I'll consider it. And just
I'm going to roll to manipulate, actually.
All right.
Because there is
when
an...
you try to seduce, manipulate, bluff, fast attack, or lie to someone, you tell them what you want them to do, give them a reason to do it, and roll plus weird for you, hot
For me,
everyone
it
else.
is weird, correct.
Yep,
can I interfere with this?
absolutely. Yeah.
Then yes, I would like to try and interfere. Which is a what roll again? A history?
It's
Sorry,
against
check,
it, yeah,
sorry?
with history. Yep.
damn it.
All right.
All right.
Well, that
So
worked.
let's see.
Yeah.
On this-
Sam, I'll tell you right now, for Lark's weird rolls, I literally have a 10% margin for failure.
What the fuck? Okay. That's gonna be tough to deal with later on.
Yeah. No, I think for this, it comes down to the again what is the or else, and then we can figure out what that miss actually means.
All right, so it's against a PC. So if you it's a 10 plus. So it's actually
It's
both.
both, right?
So if Sam, if you go along with this, you get to mark experience, and if you refuse, I erase one of your highlighted stats for the remainder of the session.
Honestly, Sam was already gonna kind of go along with it because it gives her a reason, like an actual reason to shoot something. So yeah, she's gonna go along with it.
All right. Me making it seems like you were sold on it, but me making the roll lets us both mark experience. So
Yeah, that works.
So as we
Oh, that's 5 EXP.
yeah,
very nice.
basically
Catching up with us already.
at this point, Peter's kind of trying to figure out the situation. I think Fauna's kind of come over to check on Abraham, and Sam, you begin to make your way into the cave holding the torchlight out. Look sees you going in there, and he follows you. You step in, allowing the remainder of this cave to be opened up. It's maybe about 25 feet tall, and maybe a round room that's about 35 feet big. There is, as you get closer, you see another pile of fur back in the back corner, and there's a smell in here of dead things. You lift the torch up to the ceiling, following these just glistening, trying to keep your distance. You just see the glistening. And as you bring it up to look kind of up into the high reach, you see something begin to drop. It almost looks like a piece of dust. An orb, falling from the ceiling. And as you bring the torch close, you see a small, maybe quarter-sized spider that looks very much like a snowflake. And as this one falls, 100 more begin to fall along with it. And that's where we're going to end tonight's session. With that vision.
Oh dear. One time I did bring a grenade.
Oh, holy crap. A lot of things happened there I wasn't prepared for.
Every session it's got to escalate somehow, and it did.
Oh, Dusk just quadrupled her body count.
That was very well played. I really liked that a lot. It's who cares? They're unknown soldiers, so whatever.
I can imagine the Emperor in his tower. Literally the first day these guys get here, there was a shooting.
There's already chaos. Yeah.
And there's going to be more at night.
Oh
Yep.
no.
Yeah, this is Dusk's dark side.
Lark's gonna get back there like, you guys started without me.
Right?
The-
That's
definitely. Star, I sending you to the cave was not me trying to be an ass. That is what the entity demanded.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's fine. I'm not mad about that.
All right, but yeah, like the entity seems to suggest that these things spread its will. So sending Sam into the cavern will perhaps spread the entity's influence in their mind.
It might. But there's actually something I was going to talk with the DM about, because it's something I forgot to mention, because it was something I came up with last night, but I wasn't able to talk to him about it this morning due to work.
Okay.
So I gotta talk to you about something with that real quick when I get the chance. Whenever you get the chance.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up the session, then we can definitely chat a bit. So there is an end of session move that we all do. So at the end of session, choose a character who knows you better than they used to, or one that knows you less. If it's someone that knows you better, then you tell them to add +1 on their history with you. If they know you worse, then you tell them to subtract 1 history with you. So yeah, let's start. I mean, I think it's a bit easier with 2 of you than the other one, but we'll go down the list here. So starting with you, Dusk, do you feel like either one of these individuals know you better or less?
I mean, none of them interacted with Dusk really, or
Yeah.
I mean, if
May I
if
make
they-
a brief argument for Lark on this one?
mm,
Because Lark, before they met, before they left, Lark told Dusk that like he believed she was more powerful than she even knew, and all of a sudden, she is living that out, fully utilizing her power and just wreaking havoc on everyone. It's like she has completely just taken a step towards what he thought she was.
Okay, so then that means Lark actually knows her better because he anticipated this.
Awesome. So yeah.
Okay.
And go ahead and Lark, add +1 history on your page. What about you,
Alright.
Lark? I think it's pretty easy, but who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely Sam knows Lark better because Sam now realizes that there's more to Lark than just fancy words.
Yep,
Awesome.
that's pretty obvious.
Do you have any idea about like any of the weird like entity and cult stuff Lark does prior to this?
No, but I was gonna watch the YouTube playlist on my spare time, so I'll see that pretty soon. I think.
Oh, you'll be forced into it. Don't worry. Sam will live through it.
Oh boy.
You just entered a cave of wonders, so absolutely. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
let's go ahead.
Unfortunately, you found Lark when his powers are now kind of maxed out. So have fun.
Let's go ahead and.
So I will say this.
Mhm.
I think Lark actually has to give a -1 for Sam.
Oh yeah.
Because although Sam knows him more, when he tried to read her, he got
True.
nothing.
True.
In fact, when she read him, while this guy who's trained for this and does this all the time could not get a feel for her at all. But now she knows what he is, she's even more guarded than usual.
She's covered head to toe. It's a bit hard.
Yeah,
it is.
Well, yeah, and Lark definitely recognizes that, hence why he tried to force her into the cave, because he believes that in doing this, he will gain hold over this potentially useful but otherwise unknown person.
Yeah, I think for now, I think that's another -1 I get for Lark.
So he would do a -1 on his sheet with you then.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
Right.
I love it. No, this was a ton of fun. I'm so happy to be back.
Absolutely.
We'll go ahead
and
get the video wrapped up real fast, and then we can talk a little bit else. So first of all, thank you to Dead, Doom, and Star. Thank you 3 for playing. It's great to
Always
run
a
this
pleasure.
game. And I guess that's it. I'm just gonna wrap this video up. So thanks to anybody that out there might be watching. I have nothing else to say. So we'll see you all next week. Hopefully. Take care.
Ta-ta.